All right, time to start session number 1. So session number 1, I like to focus on brainstorming. So this project, I've thought about this for a while. Right now it's just going to be called Dex. It's a Pomodoro technique time tracker. So the idea behind Dex is that, I gave in the intro, is that we're going to time track Pomodoro sessions. I've noticed that it's really nice to have, here, let me give an example actually. So if I go to GitHub, here, transmutation is a good example. So I like to work in Pomodoro sessions where I also keep track of these work logs. Every session I'll take notes of what I did. And it's a really good way to go back and be like, how did this project evolve? I've been doing the same with my current project that I haven't fully released yet. Hermes is Cards Against Humanity in Facebook Messenger. It's making a good project. This is the project that I kind of held off, that caused me to hold off on this hackathon. But early on, I have, at the very beginning, I have all the brainstorming that I did early on, worked on the use cases, like how are things going to play out. Started working on some of the interface design, since it was Facebook Messenger app, and just started playing with things. And some really good entries in here, and it allowed me to stay transparent with my process. I've gotten feedback before I've done a project like this, and people love the Worklog entries, especially for projects they're invested in. So I really love that idea. What I found though is that I've been using Toggle. I have this Toggle extension, and this actually has the option to, they have a Pomodoro session tracking, and it's been really nice. But what I found is that it's not as manageable as I want it to be. It's been very difficult to keep track of things. Sometimes I'll go overtime, and I want to keep track of that overtime. I want to get a notification when the session's done, but the overtime I also want tracked too, so I know more accurately how much time am I spending on this project. And also I can do more analytics and say, well, how much time am I spending in overtime? How many times have I gone long enough to count as a double session? Little things like that. And I want to make sure the work log entries, if you go through Hermes, and I go back to Hermes, and I look at the work log there, the last session I did actually last night was very painful. I ran into trying to figure out performance, and I just sat there for an hour and a half. So I logged 4 sessions, but that looks terrible. I don't want to have to manually keep track of that. Right now I use a log script that will stash everything, and then open up the to-do list, and then open up the work log, and then reopen the to-do list. Then it will increment the session, store it in some hidden file, and then create a commit for that, and then push it. And that's not, I don't want to have to rely on scripts anymore. So I think this would be useful for me. If it's useful for anybody else, awesome. I think ultimately it's a very powerful form of doing development. So I want to stay true to that. So let's start. I actually have to start a new project. I have an old Dex project where I kind of explored the methodology. So let me rename that first. Where's Dex? So I have the Dex methodology, but I need a new project just for Dex itself. XP. I like a blue. That should be good. So now that I have that, refresh, start new, make sure it's in here, Dex. Brainstorming, initial brainstorming. All right, so that starts my 25-minute timer. I'll get a notification. There's a lot of things that I want to do. I want to store these work log entries, but I love the Markdown version, but I don't want to store it as Markdown. I want to store it in a database. So I want to generate Markdown. I also want it to be postable to Slack. I want to be able to start a session from Google Assistant from my phone. There's a lot of little features that would really optimize my workflow, at least, and could be valuable to others too. So let's start. So Dex stands for dexterity. Dex is a play on words relating to agile, inspired by agile methodologies. Works around the Pomodoro technique. Stores 25-minute long sessions. Starts a timer and tracks over time past a 25-minute session. Logs an entry at the end of the session. Keeps track of the number of sessions in case 50 plus minutes are done. Manages a to-do list that is shown at the start and end of each session. Easy to aggregate work logs based on client, project, or entity within a project. Like if you're talking about a CLI tool, and the UI and the back end and different parts of the project. I want to make sure that I'm able to sort that. I ran into that with a project that I did recently where I was working on the API platform and then also had to work on a separate folder for the CLI tool because that needed to be published to NPM, and tracking the work log between those was a hassle. And that's one of the main things where I was like, I really need a tool like this. It would be really nice because something the equivalent of Jira that enables Pomodoro technique would be super slick. I'd be very happy with it. What else? Eventually consider charging on a per client basis, used by freelancers to manage their work. Incorporates the concept of a deep block. So a deep block, I saw recently, I actually didn't know about this before. They're supposed to be 4 Pomodoro sessions in a row. The idea is you take a Pomodoro session for 25 minutes, take a break for 5 to 10, and then you repeat that 4 times. And after the 4th one, you take a long break, like a lunch, probably like 15 minutes or so. But the idea is that 4 sessions in a row, is the equivalent, I'm getting sick, is the equivalent of the maximum productivity that you should squeeze out of yourself, because you're working at such high focused work time and your mind's so preoccupied. Doing any more is straining. I've actually done this at the start of my Cards Against Humanity project. I did 5 long sessions and then took a break and then did that like at least 3 times throughout the day. And I noticed that I was so exhausted the next day, like mentally and physically, that I wasn't taking care of myself. So a deep block, very powerful concept. Incorporates a shallow block. So this is an idea I had with recently. I don't always have time to do 4 sessions in a row. And motivation-wise, like, it's hard for me to motivate myself to jump into a session unless it's going to be part of a deep block, because I feel like I'm not going to be that productive. But in the reverse sense, if I'm not working, then I don't have much time. I'm not actually doing much. There are times where I need just, like, what I'm referring to as a shallow block, that where I only do 2 sessions, and the intent is just get in, just break ice, really, because a lot of the times I'll be emotionally blocked, and like a 4-session block is very daunting, especially if I'm like stuck on a bug or a refactor or a major portion of the architecture is really bugging me. I'll encourage myself mentally to go into a shallow block, which is just 2 sessions, and the idea is to just break the ice, jump in, do what you can. It's only 50 minutes total, or like an hour, and it's much easier to just pull an hour out of your day than it is to dedicate an entire deep block, which ends up being about 2.5 hours. That's really painful. Be able to generate Markdown for a GitHub project. Track what commits are done every session. Publish to a Slack channel. Start from a Slack channel. Manage from a Slack channel. Manage from Google Assistant would be super awesome. Manage from the Echo. Alexa. What else would I want to be able to do with this? So I want to inspired by Todoist. To-do lists are more powerful when they are structured around their visibility, structured around your work sessions. So this is something I've found, is that while to-do lists are very difficult to manage, if I'm in the habit of tracking my time, I've noticed that I've actually and showing the to-do list during right before I do the Worklog and right after I do the Worklog, I'm more capable of managing my to-do list, and I can write stuff that I'll be able to look up later and not forget. And that's really powerful. And I think I don't do this right now because I don't start a session from the CLI. I start it from Chrome, the Chrome extension for Toggle. I honestly think starting with a to-do list would be extremely powerful, because then I can jump into a project, not know what is there, and then just look at the to-do list and pick something. And that would be really awesome too, to just start a session and have direction without needing to jump into a project and know exactly what you're working on. You can just look at the to-do list, take a pick, and go. To-do lists across multiple developers on a team might be very valuable. And this is very true. I want a API first strategy with CLI second. And part of the reason that I want this is that the API, when enabled, is a powerful platform. We've seen Twitter explode, Slack explode, 6 a.m. in the morning. That's my alarm. I went at 4 and one at 6. So we've seen platforms with APIs like Slack and Twitter and Facebook and lots of other APIs out there, Stripe is a wonderful one. They have really enabled people to build integrations, and when developers build integrations, they are more invested in the platform, almost as much as you are at that point, because their product depends on you, and I think that's very powerful. Twilio is another great one. So I honestly think that's extremely powerful. In addition, so the CLI second, a lot of people want to build a UI directly up front. The problem that I've found in project development is that the UI is so faulty, so painful, and it really forces this perfectionist in a lot of people. Not everybody's stuck by it. I find myself stuck by it all the time. It's one of my biggest problems. So forcing myself into building a kind of a CLI tool and simplifying the UI down to, well, what can I do in a text interface with, multi-select, Inquire is very powerful. It's not a terrible thing. So jumping in and working on something like a CLI tool forces me to think on a lower level, and also doesn't have me waste time on the UI as much. It's part of the reason why I like to work in Facebook Messenger or Slack as kind of my interface, because it allows me to just focus on the platform. Allows me to do a lot of really cool things. Built around the slowly being developed DEX methodology. Okay, so I'm just putting that there. So I've been trying to design this kind of agile methodology strictly around Pomodoro sessions, which includes this Worklog entry system. This is kind of what I want to see if that's possible, whether or not a DEX methodology versus Scrum versus Kanban is actually viable. One of the things I hate most about working in team projects is the amount of time that is spent where project managers and product owners and execs in general are trying to encourage you to collaborate with each other, and it really kills a developer's productivity. I honestly think if a developer had the practice of doing a DEX methodology with a worklog system, with to-do list tasks, it would be much easier for a product owner and a project manager and execs as a whole to watch over devs and kind of get this transparency, and then checking up with each other or like collaborating with each other becomes much easier, because now everything that you do is transparent and it's clear what people are working on. So I really think it would be super powerful. Worklog entries after each session is powerful for transparency's sake, for project and product management, product roles. Small sessions versus long sessions encourage more worklog entries and ultimately more transparency. Enforcing a hard interval of 25 minutes will build the community around the relatable, or the growing research of the Pomodoro technique. So I'm going to explicitly lock the interval to 25 minutes. You will be able to track like double sessions, triple sessions, quad sessions, but I want the interval to stay at 25 minutes no matter what. It's very powerful. I love that 25 minutes plus 5-minute break equals 30 minutes. It's very awesome. Having two 25 minutes together to set up a 50-minute session, which is within an hour, also wonderful. I love the fact that 50 minutes will fit in a single TV show if you cut out the commercials, if you fast forward between them or cut them out as a whole. It's also nice that a 25-minute session fits a sitcom in, which is 20 minutes without the commercials. There's a lot of really nice benefits to 25 minutes, and I want everybody to fall in that category. What else? So we're talking interfaces. So let's talk services. So tracking, logging sessions with no tie to a client, project, or entity is completely free. Get people in. Sessions that are attributed to clients, projects, or entities cost a subscription for unlimited access. I like giving a free option. I love that toggle's free. They do projects and clients and stuff as kind of a free thing, but I honestly think just getting into the habit of doing Pomodoros personally and then logging a Worklog entry, like I took a shower, like throughout your regular workday to do chores and stuff, wonderful. So the free portion will be like you're just tracking essentially a single project. It's your life or whatever you want to do it for. But if you want more on top of that, you would subscribe. And the subscription would be ridiculously small. Subscription services allow for steady revenue, more predictable revenue. I actually really love subscription services in general from a business perspective. It's harder from a user perspective. I totally get that. But I think this is something that would be actually valuable in the future. And it just simplifies the payment structure. So I'm running Firebase, tech stack, cloud functions for serverless business logic, real-time database for storage of entities, for storage of clients, entities, projects, users, etc. Firestore for storage of excuse me, I'm getting sick. Worklog entries, which contain more queryable data. Serverless reduces cost as it is a per usage cost. Synergy with serverless, since worklogs are naturally time-based, which slows down usage manually for lower costs. People aren't going to be logging multiple entries within, like, 1,000 entries within an hour, which is really wonderful. Should make this mostly cheap project for the most part. What else? Consider Facebook Messenger integration. CLI ASCII art banner. Firebase authentication, security around APIs. What else? Like, CLI hooks for when a session starts, when one ends. Starts and ends. I want people to be able to, like, send out a tweet whenever they send out a tweet whenever they start a session, or like save a YouTube video whenever they finish a session. I don't know. Store a link, store additional metadata, like a link to a YouTube video for session. So that's a very me specific thing. Since I record all of my sessions, I want to be able to link a YouTube video on a per session basis. That would be really awesome. Gamification around completing tasks. Progress bar on completing a deep block and shallow block. Progress bar on completing a goal of X number of sessions a day. Analytics around overtime spent. Analytics around time spent logging. Integration with toggle, integration with Todoist. Hide/snooze to-do list items to encourage a lean to-do list. What else would I want to do? I mean, there's lots of things. Request sessions be done by someone else as a client. Requested sessions can be used in households for doing chores. I really like that idea. I want my partner Jess to be able to say, hey, can you go mow the lawn, and make a request in Dex, and then I just log the sessions towards that. Payment system, perhaps through escrow for client services. Client reporting data on their projects that they own. So projects and entities belong to clients. And then the devs can work on a client. Yeah. Teams could be formed to work on a project. An organization could be formed to own a client. So you could have like a startup with their product owner and project manager and execs are all an organization, and then there's a client for that organization, and then there's a dev team, an outsourced team that logs work towards that session, and the project managers and product owners want to be able to inspect that and see what kind of work they're getting done. Eventually, the track public versus private work logs. Public is always, or free is always public. Private is behind subscription. One of the reasons to get a subscription is to make a private work log. Tracking of currently active sessions at one time. Storage, RPC API for starting and stopping. REST API for reading clients, projects, work logs, entities, devs, teams, organizations. It's going to be a lot to track eventually. Track multiple timers at one time for, okay, one more. Open source projects may require a dependency upgrade justifying multiple timers. Okay, so this is good for now. By the way, this is Realtime Board. Realtime Board is a collaborative, real-time collaborative, like Google Docs, unlimited whiteboard. It's actually very powerful. I found this like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, actually. It's very powerful. I love it. It's amazing. So let me actually, I want to save as image. Here, let me do a create a frame, blah, blah, and then blah. Okay. Initial brainstorming. Okay. Also, I need to make sure LSL. Oh, I already have a Dex folder. Move Dex to dev XP. Do I have that right? CD dev XP. Is Dex still here? Well, I don't know what happened. Did I just mess up something? Move Dex to old Dex. LSAL. So this is old stuff that I did. Where is it? Old Dex. Okay. So make your Dex. So we're working on a new Dex. I want to copy the from Hermes. I'm going to steal the log script and I'm going to copy it here. I'm going to echo 0.2.session. Going to touch worklog md, touch readme.md, get init st, vim.getIgnore, ds store. Eventually will be, we'll add node modules later. Ds store. And make their images, that image that I just grabbed, actually, Realtime Board, save image, no, this, export as image, hi, export. Going to download this, save that. Where's other? Oh, sorry. It's Dex, right? No. Development, Dex. Images. I like my things to have a very specific initial brainstorming. Vim, okay. Get n, st, get ci, initial commit. GitHub, sign in. Oh, I'm gonna have two-factor. 681. All right, and then a new repository for decks. Pomodoro technique time tracker. Create repository. Close that. Copy this. Get set up. ABBR. Dex. I'm going to create a quick shortcut here. Dex. Okay, now I'm going to just set up my first Worklog entry. Worklog. Initial brainstorming for my Pomodoro technique application, or time tracking application for the product hunt global hackathon. I actually want to link this. Product hunt hackathon. Save that URL. Ta-da. Just spit out a bunch of ideas that you can see below. Initial brainstorming, and then images, initial brainstorming, JPEG. CD Dex, actually Dex. Grip. Oh, this is the to-do list. What's in my to-do list? Set up Firebase project. Set up node project for deployment. Set up CLI project. API project, CLI project for publishing to NPM. Get out a set up deployment process, deployment script for easy publishing of new features. Create use MVP use case. It's going to be first. Design initial interface interaction. I think that's good enough for now. Oh, I lost my Worklog entry. Worklog. Okay. Initial brainstorming for my Pomodoro technique time tracking application. For the product hunt global hackathon. That. I actually want to bold that. Just spit out a bunch of ideas that I could think of before jumping into things. Below is an image of the initial thoughts. this initial brainstorming images initial brainstorming JPEG grip worklog. See what it looks like. Make sure the image is showing up. Looks good. Okay. And to-do list looks good. All right, I think we are good. So now I should have my project. Actually, them to do, create a README and create a product page on ship at product hunt, because that's required for the first deliverable. Added some to-do list items. I also don't want to have to constantly like check in these to-do list items myself. It's painful. All right, so that's the end of the first session. See, 41 minutes. So I'm going to end this, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to start planning out the use cases and the initial interface. So I'll be back.